Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome back to the channel. I want to do a very interesting video today. I want to talk about the woke mentality on whiteness. Yes, we're going to talk about them crackers. Them crackers today that seem to be the evil devils of the world, right? According to the rhetoric today. Right. Now, the post that I'm about to show you guys is so cringeworthy that even my shirt, even the white man on my shirt is embarrassed. Good old Jean-Luc. Right, man, I tell you, it's unbelievable what this woke culture is coming to. And ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want to show you how this degenerate black consciousness ideology is, how far it's actually going, and it's how it's been designed. Now the current rhetoric is that black people are oppressed, this and this and that and the next thing and stuff like that, and to a large degree I actually believe that. However, it is how I believe it that makes the difference, right? I believe they are being oppressed, but I believe they're being oppressed by retarded, degenerate, liberal ideology that seeks to implant such demented ideology into the minds of black people who are lapping it up like nothing on earth, right? That ideology and that mentality is actually what's keeping them down more than anything else on the earth that white people could do. And I'm telling you, for those of you who do not know, I am a Latino. I was born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Right, I am South American, and I am married to a British girl. Well, a South African girl who is of British ancestry. And if let me tell you something, right? So basically, I fall technically, according to these people, I would fall under the category of a person of color. Right? Although, let me tell you, when you've lived in England for a while, you 1 year and you are no longer a person of color because the sun doesn't shine up in here. Let me tell you, right? So if someone talked to my wife like this, or if I saw either a fellow Latino or whoever talk to either my missus like this or to another white person like this, I would as they would say in South Africa, I would strip my moer. Right? Because this is just so ridiculous, and this mentality. And I experienced this too, being from the Latino side of things, because there are Latinos that believe in this trash as well. We constantly want to blame the white man, right? The man, right? We constantly want to blame the man for the fact that we don't prosper, or the fact that our countries don't do well. We basically want to blame the white man for everything, right? But it is this degenerate mindset that is actually, it's holding us back. We are holding ourselves back, right? And you're going to see this let's just get right into it. Right, let's have a look. So the National Museum of African American History and Culture, in other words, it's actually the African American History Museum of Marxist ideology that is designed to infiltrate the consciousness of black people in order to keep them as dependent on the state as humanly possible, is what it actually is, right? Has been accused of racism. That is actually true, right? Of race after releasing a whiteness chart, right? So we have a honky tonk crackerjack chart. What does it mean to be a cracker? To be whiter than white. That links large. All right, so now this mentality, ladies and gentlemen, and why I bring it up is because I've been seeing even members of my own church, right, fall beautifully in line with this Black Lives Matter degeneracy, right? And this is going to show you exactly, and I keep telling them, I say, listen, just because the phrase Black Lives Matter happens to be true, it's true. Obviously, Black Lives Matter, right? Latino lives matter, it's true. But people think so shallow, and people are so ignorant, people are so stupid, so brutally ignorant, that they think that the slogan is all there is, right? I actually had a member of my church the other day who had the temerity to ask me, because I was saying something against the Black Lives Matter, because they take money, 300 million to date, by the way, right? Which just vanishes. This money, 300, vanishes. And black people are still suffering. Where's this money gone? No one asks. Where's this money gone? And the South England, ladies, I'm going to tell you, and you need to fund them, and you need to create this thing. The South England Conference for Seventh-day Adventists, right? For Seventh-day Adventists, their youth division were put on their official Facebook website. I'm going to show you the pictures another time. Promoting Black Lives Matter, promoting, right, white fragility, promoting all of these racist, degenerate, left-wing Marxist ideologies. And hordes of people in the Seventh-day Adventist Church are going along with this degeneracy, right? It's unbelievable, the degree. And this moron had the temerity to ask me if I didn't know what if I knew what the reason for Black Lives Matter to exist is. And I'm like, well, duh, obviously. I'm pretty sure that, unlike you, I've actually visited their website. Right? I've actually visited their website. And most of what they want has nothing to do with helping black people lead a better quality of life. It's all about LGBT. It's all about what we're actually about to read just now. And these imbeciles, these degenerates, these apostates. Let me tell you something. If you come across a Christian who believes in the social justice, you need to understand right now and settle it in your mind. You are no longer talking to a brother or a sister. You are talking to someone who believes in another religion. It's that simple. You are no longer talking to a brother or a sister. You are talking to someone who believes in another religion, and you need to talk to them like you would evangelize anyone from any other religion, because they have abandoned the gospel for social justice. And these idiots believe the rhetoric on the top that veils a degenerate ideology which comes from the pits of hell itself. Okay? So we're going to get into it. Right. So this is right, talking about race. Aspects and assumptions of whiteness and white culture in the United States. By the way, and I actually got a lot of brownie points for this. A lot of people at my church, when they were soliciting opinions about this stuff, I said to them, it is narcissistic, because we live in the UK. We're a church in the UK. The UK and the US have completely different histories. They're intertwined, yes, but they've got completely different histories. They've completely different laws. They've got just very, very different. I said, listen, if you are jumping on the BLM bandwagon in the UK, then you're a narcissist, because you are trying to make a problem that affects other people, and you are trying to bring it upon yourself. Look at me, how this is literally narcissism, to use the victim status in order to gain attention. This is literally what you would expect from someone suffering from what they call in the psychological sphere collapsed narcissism. Oh, those people over there that have nothing to do with me, who I don't know, I've never met, is a completely different culture to anything I know. I'm with them. I'm oppressed with them just because I share the same damn skin color. I mean, if that isn't narcissism of the highest order, and so yeah, that went down like a garlic milkshake, I can tell you, right? They have traded the gospel, and they want, and this is the thing, in the Adventist church, and this is now, everyone knows, this is in all churches everywhere. It's like a virus, right? We in the Adventist church, we know We identify the United States of America as one of the beasts of Revelation, specifically the beast that comes out of the earth. And this beast would spread its ideology around the entire world. We understand this. We know this. In fact, Seventh-day Adventists talk about it ad nauseum. Ad nauseum about America this and America that and whatever the case. Yet these idiots are so quick to jump on every ideological bandwagon that comes out of the United States that it's amazing. It's like, well, then you want to be a part of the beast power, then is what you want to be, you morons. Right? They're so stupid and blinded by this ideology. This is the Aryan heresy all over again. But anyway, so they refuse to believe, especially when I tell them. I say to them, listen. Listen. This ideology is leading somewhere. It's going somewhere. There are consequences to that. This is one of the things that is one of the most difficult things to get people out there to just get a grasp on, is that ideologies are not benign. They lead somewhere. They're intended to go somewhere. Satan is really, really clever. Smarter than your stupid asses, right? But no, it's just about black freedom and whatever the case might be. And it's like, no, it's not. It's Marxist ideology, and you're going to see the results now. Right, enough talk. So let's go here. White dominant culture refers to the ways white people and their traditions, right? First of all, this is racist, right? Because, right, whiteness. There's no such thing as one white person. You have Italians, you have Polish, you have Slovakian, you have British, and they're all as different from each other as night is from day. First of all. Okay, so to talk about whites as some kind of a monolithic unit is just as racist as talking about blacks as a monolithic unit, as if there's no distinctions between them. Which is again why I say people who are, it's like people. So for example, if you take white supremacy is abject narcissism, because somehow you're better just because you are white. That's literally, it's white supremacy, right? And so basically it takes the single thing that you have in common with other white people and raises us up, and then every single narcissist who has got no self-esteem, who is a moron, basically, will attach themselves to white supremacy just because they're white, even though their cultures have nothing to do with each other. Their cultures, their lives, their belief, their cultures and everything could be as different as night is from the day, but now because I'm white, I'm going to jump on the white supremacy bandwagon in order for me to feel better about myself, because now I'm so wonderful compared to everyone else. That's white supremacy. It is pure, unadulterated narcissism. And it is the same thing with black people that get on this black consciousness bandwagon, where not only do they want to treat white people as a monolithic unit, but they want to treat themselves as a monolithic unit, as if what happens in Africa has anything to do with someone in the UK or someone in China or whatever the case might be. It's got nothing to do with you. Nothing whatsoever to do with you. Okay? Some Latino gets shot in the United States, nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me that I should now go to Parliament here in the UK to protest about it. What is the British Parliament going to do? What? You can go and give Trump a slap on the wrist? Really? It's narcissistic, right? And we must do something about it. Yeah, or march and see where that gets you. It's abject narcissism. It's got nothing to do with you, right? I mean, it's just so cool. Oh yeah, you got the same color as they are, and that's about as far as it goes. That's literally the only thing in common. But now you're going to latch onto that to give yourself a special victim status. You are this precious little snowflake who needs to be saved from all the evil white people in the world who are oppressing you, even though you drive BMWs and you have fantastic houses and you run your own businesses and stuff like that. You are marvelously successful, but you're oppressed. Imbecility of the highest order. Right, so let's go. So this is what they believe, right? And ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practices in the United States. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power, again, whenever you're talking about power, you immediately know that it's Marxism. It is straight up Marxism. Communism, all that degenerate imbecility. We have all internalized some aspects of white culture, including people of culture. So basically, the mere fact that I'm objecting to this imbecility means that I have absorbed white culture. Never. So, rugged individualism. The individual is the primary unit. Self-reliance, independence, and autonomy, highly valued plus rewarded. How the hell is this a bad thing? Right? So these fools who believe that we should be dependent, that we should not be autonomous, and who will reward, ladies and gentlemen, what is the welfare state? It literally rewards the inability for you, it rewards your ability to be a leech and a parasite on the state and on the taxpayer. Right? If you are a Christian, by the way, this is evil. This is satanic. Because the Bible says, quite plainly, the man who will not work must not eat. Paul says this in Thessalonians, if I'm not mistaken. The man who will not eat, will not work, shall not eat. He will go hungry. Individuals assumed to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve. Yeah, the Bible says this. So, for example, let's take a beautiful example, right? I'm going to use my own culture as an example, right? I'm going to use my own culture as an example so I don't get accused of racism. Latinos. We are more criminal than white people, right? And we also get shot by the police more than white people do. Maybe it's because we're more criminal. So, are we getting what we deserved? Does the Bible not say, he who lives by the sword will die by the sword? The Bible says this. Of course it says this. You know, the wicked is going to get it's coming to them, and the righteous are going to get what's coming to them. It's that simple, right? If you don't want to get shot by the police, don't commit crime. Huh, imagine that. But apparently, abiding by the law is whiteness. So it's not my fault. I can't. This is the bigotry of low expectations, right? Because we can't expect Latinos and black people and whoever the hell else, basically everyone who is not white, right? This is actually another form of white supremacy in disguise, because us poor, stupid little people of color cannot be held to the same standards as white people. Therefore, we must rebel against being responsible, right, for ourselves. Heaven forbid. You get what you deserve. Yeah, generally you get what you deserve, right? Yes, the world is unfair sometimes, absolutely, but generally, yeah, you get what you deserve if you work hard. So I used to be a criminal, by the way, right? So I was further contributing to the racial stereotype of Latinos. I was a criminal. I was a sociopath, by the way, right? I used to steal. I used to get into fights, right? So I was the kind of person that, so let me tell you what kind of a person I used to be, right? I was driving along one day, and there was some other folk, I think it was two guys or whatever, in a car next to me, who decided they were going to provoke me. Or at least I thought they were provoking me. I don't know, because I was a sociopath, right? My solution was to ram them into oncoming traffic. That's the kind of person I was. Right? That's the kind of person I was. So until I pulled my head out of my backside and realized that a certain way of living is not going to do me any good, only then did my life change. Now I'm a respectable individual, well, mostly, right? Who is married, who's got a steady job, I pay my bills on time, right? I'm punctual. I keep my promises. People can trust me with their money, right? And my life got better magically, huh? You know, after becoming Christian, by the way, right? So there's nothing wrong with individualism. Now, to be fair, individualism can be taken too far. And it often is done in the Western culture. Individualism is becoming malignant, but this is not as a result of whiteness. This is not a result of whiteness. It's actually a result of Enlightenment ideology, which is not whiteness. Why? Well, because the French came up with it. It is not ubiquitous to people of white skin color, right? It's just this one ideology has taken hold and become the most successful. So you actually get malignant individualism. Now here they talk. Family structure, the nuclear family, father, mother, 2 or 3 children is the ideal social unit. Well, what the hell is wrong with that? Right? Well, obviously they would think that, because when you come to Latinos, half of us are fatherless, and when you come to blacks, 75-80% of us are fatherless, which is why most of us are in poverty, by the way. Okay? Father, mother, yes, this is what we need. This is what God ordained. A father and a mother and 2 to 3 children. Why is 2 to 3 children ideal? Because that's what you can afford, right? Having 50 children, right, because the state is going to pay you out money for each of them, is immoral. It's child abuse. The husband is the breadwinner and the head of the household. This is biblical, right? And how many Christian morons just accept, oh yes, this ideology, wonderful, this is what they want to destroy. Everything here is for the most part is Christian ethics, morals and ethics. And again, it's not whiteness, because Jesus happened to be Jew. He was an Arab, by the way, right? Jesus would have looked like Osama bin Laden kind of thing. He was from the Middle East. Okay, Europe was evangelized by Middle Eastern people. In fact, Ethiopia was Christian before Europe was. So it's not whiteness. There is either right or there is wrong. There is either something that was ordained by God or it was not ordained by God. And so basically what they're doing over here, the nuclear Black Lives Matter literally says they want to destroy the nuclear family. They want to destroy it. By destroying the nuclear family, you do nothing but ensure that the black population remains in the state of violence and squalor and poverty that it currently is in. This ideology literally will ensure that black people's lives will never improve. This is actually oppressive, right? So when I say that black people actually are oppressed, they are oppressed by this retarded ideology. Because this ideology is what's holding them back. Not racism. Because let me tell y'all, I went from my homeland, my home country, over to white people country. Right? I now live in white people country. And guess what? My life is good. Okay? My life has improved. You know, it's like all this racism all over the place, yet somehow I managed to do well. Very strange. Right? Very, very weird. Okay, wife is the homemaker and subordinate to the wife. By subordinate here, they are actually the wife is submissive. Submissive does not mean subordinate, right? In the Bible, there's equality between the husband and the wife, right? And the difference is that the roles that they have. Children should have own rooms and be independent. Wow, like who wouldn't want children that were independent? You want your children to be parasites for the rest of your life, which is why the government is coming in and saying, we will give you money. We will just throw money at you. We will throw welfare at you, and so that you can continue in your state of degeneracy forever, and your lives will never improve. You will never have self-respect, nothing. Emphasis on the scientific method. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this explains why the social sciences, term used very, very loosely, sciences, can produce the absolute crap that they do, because none of it can be replicated, none of it can be tested, reproduced at all. It's a lot of crock. So when you hear about critical race theory and white fragility and all that, these are all these mentally addled, right, social science imbeciles in academia whose work is untested. There is no logic behind it. There is nothing, right? More than half this stuff cannot be reproduced, cannot be tested in any way, shape, or form. They merely say it and you must accept it, right? That's the social sciences, right? No wonder this trash, because you do not know. So be objective, rational, linear thinking. For shame, right? Cause and effect relationships, quantitative emphasis. Actually, by the way, the scientific method also emphasizes on qualitative analysis as well, not just quantitative. You need both. And sometimes you can only get one, but not the other, right? Because of the nature of things. Nothing wrong here, right? You know, I am a person of color, apparently. And by the way, I would say, if this is what being white means, then bring on the whiteness. Bring it on. I'll paint it on, right? So basically, right, if you are black, you must reject this, is what they're saying. If you're black, you should reject this. This is the imbecile. So you don't have to be objective. And I see this, by the way. I see this even in the church, right? Even in the church, right? Let me tell you a story. I know, and this might make it a little bit longer. The other day, in one of the churches that I attend, the minister, the hour, that time of divine service is sacred. Is sacred. You go there to be spiritually administered to by a word from the minister who is ordained of God, etc., etc., etc. It is a solemn duty, and you go there for that thing. The minister, what does the minister do? The minister, instead of preaching a sermon, opens it up to the church so that people can give their own opinions. Rational or irrational, it did not matter a damn. But go ahead. So rather than being spiritually fed and educated in spiritual matters, the idiot minister opens the floor, right, everyone give your opinions. And so people went to church with a certain degree of ignorance and left church with the exact same degree of ignorance that day. Which, by the way, is exactly what happens most of the time anyway, because the standard of things has just gone right down the toilet. Right? Unbelievable. The cult of opinion. Everything is my opinion. And when I asked people, I said, do you think this is right? What is happening here? Well, my opinion is this. Nothing but opinions. Not a single biblical reference. Not a single, nothing. Oh, but this is how I feel. This is a feminized society. This is a feminized society, ladies and gentlemen. Right? When the Bible says that God rejects the effeminate, it's talking about men who engage in this kind of imbecility. If you are a man, you're supposed to be, thus saith the Lord, reason, logic, evidence, right? Thus saith the Lord, philosophy, philosophical rigor, critical thinking. Not this, my opinion and my feelings and my emotions. Right? Absurd. Absolutely bloody absurd. I nearly died. It was just like boggles the mind. It's like it can't be true. Right. History based on Northern European immigrants' experience of the United States. That's actually not true, because Chinese came over, Japanese came over, etc., etc. Right. Heavy focus on the British Empire. Well, duh, obviously they influence it a lot. The primacy of Western, Greek and Roman, and Judeo-Christian tradition. Well, duh, because that's what their history is like, right? I mean, so what? If you go to China, they will teach Chinese history. If you go to Malaysia, what will they teach? Malaysian history. If you go to Africa, they teach African history, right? I mean, duh. It's the privilege of the many. I mean, come on. This is just so degenerate. I mean, by the way, the primacy of Western, Greek, Roman, and Judeo-Christian tradition. Judeo-Christian tradition would actually have a problem with Greek tradition, Greek and Roman tradition, right? Hellenism and all that kind of stuff. Remember, dialectics. We reject that. Well, not all Christians do. So the Orthodox reject dialectics. Adventists reject dialectics. Presuppositionalists in general reject dialectics, and so on and so forth. So it's not like we all just agree, right? Again, it's treating this as white people as a monolith when they are actually not a monolith. They are very diverse. They've got different opinions and stuff. The Protestant work ethic. Well, there we go. So black people, you should be lazy according to this, right? You should be a lazy degenerate, and you should rely on the power of the state. So, I mean, this is as communist as it gets, and morons don't see it. Hard work is the key to success. Yes, by the way, it is. Work before play. Yes, that's exactly what you should do. If you didn't meet your goals, you didn't work hard enough. Yeah, most likely. Right? And, you know, so according to this, black people, according to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, if you are black or a person of color, right, so Brazilian, Venezuelan, Argentinian, whatever the case might be, Malaysian, you should reject this. You should reject all of this, because this is whiteness and white supremacy, and it's not for you. That's why you can't succeed in the world. This is the level of this is the level of degenerate thinking that now it passes for something legitimate. Religion, Christianity is the norm. Yes, it should be for everyone. Anything other than the Judeo-Christian tradition is foreign. No, it's not foreign, it's false. Excuse me. It's not foreign, it's false. Well, duh. I mean, it's Judeo-Christian itself is foreign because it didn't originate in Europe. It originated in the Middle East. Idiots. Right? So the Judeo-Christian is not native even to Europe. Okay? No tolerance for deviation from a single God concept. Yes, actually, well, let me be... First of all, yes, there is tolerance, because in America, you literally have every religion under the sun, and you're not oppressed. If you're not a Christian, you can believe whatever the hell you want. Okay? I've not always been Christian. I've been Buddhist. I've been... you name it. Right? All the major ones. Was never oppressed. Never oppressed, right? A lot of in fact, I hated Christians, and I would often go out of my way to be very, very unpleasant towards Christians. So this is a lot of trash. This is just plainly false. But what do you expect? You know, objective, rational, linear thinking is whiteness. So they obviously disagree with whiteness, therefore you can be false. You don't have to be true, you don't have to be rational, you don't have to be correct, nothing. So no tolerance for deviation from a single God concept. That's absolute trash. And the reason why it is the single God concept is held in the most respect is because it is the only one that stands up to rational scrutiny. It is the only philosophically sound doctrine of God that there is only one God. But again, because they do not believe in objective, rational, linear thinking and cause and effect relation and so on and so forth, they obviously will reject this, of course, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, right, so those of you Seventh-day Adventists and other Christians who are stupid enough to buy into this ideology, please explain to me, how are you going to evangelize other people? Do you have any idea how much more difficult it has become to evangelize to black communities, right? Because they think that Christianity is a white man's religion, right? Which is retarded. It's not true. It's wrong. It's incorrect. Status, power, and authority. Wealth equals worth. I agree with that. This is wrong. That is entirely incorrect. And again, this is not whiteness. This is not whiteness at all. This is secularism. This is satanic. This has nothing to do with whiteness, because not all white people agree, and for most of history, white people have never thought this. This is a modern conception. This is an Enlightenment conception, that your wealth equals your worth. This is not true. And in fairness, this wealth equals worth is not only... You do not only find this concept in white societies, you also find it in every other society on the planet, which is precisely why the social justice warriors want power and wealth. They don't actually dislike power and wealth, ladies and gentlemen. They just dislike who has got the power and wealth. But if all the black people in the world had power and wealth, then they would be very happy, you know. And so it's ridiculous. And I mean, even black people think this way, that wealth equals worth. A lot of them do, which is the only reason why they complain about being, if wealth doesn't equal worth, then why is it that poverty is a problem for you? Or not being filthy, stinking rich is a problem for you, if wealth is not worth. You know, so you have a contradiction, which does not matter, because again, being logical is whiteness, and we need to avoid whiteness. Your job is who you are. For a lot of people, this is a problem, but this is a trait of people who are high in conscientiousness, and is common to black people as well, because you get black people who are high in conscientiousness, and they become workaholics. They identify themselves exclusively with their jobs, etc. So this is not only something that is a personality trait more than anything else, but because it's a personality trait, it's also common to black people, and moreover, it is more common to men than it is to women, because women generally value work-life balance than men do. So again, this has nothing to do with whiteness. This is to do with psychology. Respect authority. Oh, well, you know, no wonder we can be criminals and get shot by police during the course of committing a crime, and still be held up as martyrs, because how unfair. How dare you stop me from committing crime? I mean, who would have thought of such temerity? How dare you, right? You must allow me to shoot you, Mr. Policeman. Didn't you realize that? You must allow me to shoot you and to kick you and bite you and do whatever I want to you, because, you know, because I can, because bigotry of low expectations means that because I'm a person of color, I am not capable of understanding these concepts, right? Heavy value on ownership of goods, space, property. Well, duh, obviously. But, you know, obviously for those of us that are thieves, we don't, we you know, here's the strange thing, right? Most of the theft is committed by people of color. Right? So if we didn't have a heavy value on our ownership of goods, we wouldn't be taking other people's stuff so that we could own it ourselves. I mean, come on, right? I used to be a hell of a thief back in the day. Man, I always stole so much money and stuff, cell phones, wallets, all kind of, man, I was a thief galore. So yeah, you know, this, believe me, this is probably less a whiteness thing than it is a us thing. Future oriented. You should plan for the future. Again, this is planning for the future is a conscientiousness aspect. It is not a race thing. It's not a race thing, right? This is, if you are conscientiousness, you will plan for the future. If you're not conscientious, you will not delay gratification. Progress is always best. Tomorrow will be better. Right? Time. Follow rigid time schedules. Time viewed as a commodity. So if you are conscientious, then you will believe in all of these things. If you are high in conscientiousness, if you are low in conscientiousness, you will not agree with any of this kind of stuff. So again, this is not a race issue. This is a personality issue. However, obviously, as a culture, white people value this a lot, whereas in other cultures, this is not valued at all. So for example, I know that if I'm dealing with Latinos or Africans or basically anyone who is not white, I know that if I organize, so for example, when I was a youth leader at this one particular church, which was overwhelmingly not white, right? And I was the youth leader, and I would send people emails to try and organize things. I would send people texts to try organize things, and I would never get a response, ever. I had to actually phone them in order to get a response. Half the time they would not even pick up their cell phones, right? These are church people. We're supposed to all be, right, diligent for the cause of God, right? But no. And then when I eventually could get an event organized, right, after pulling teeth, right, people would show up anything from half an hour to an hour late, except for the white people. except for the Europeans. Even the elder was 40 something minutes late. Why? Because his children were having ice cream, right? So rather than teach your children to honor a commitment, right, which is the Christian thing to do, and he's the elder of the church, rather than teach your children that you honor your commitments and you respect other people's efforts and time that they've put into things. No, no, no. Instead, you raise them to be like little narcissists who believe that their ice cream is more important than the people who are waiting for them. Waiting for them because they made a commitment, right? This is how badly this has got into the church. You can go to this church every Sabbath, and you will never see it start on time. Ever. Never starts on time. It is so unorganized. No one ever knows who's doing anything, right? And this is like a standard thing in so many churches, and it's now even becoming a thing even in white churches. But if it's a Latino church, or if it's an African church, or whatever the case might be, forget it. The idea of keeping to your commitments and stuff like that. So here's the thing, they're actually right here, right? It does seem to be a whiteness thing, right? But it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. So they're actually right. They see in fact, it's actually become so pervasive that it's become called that in as Seventh-day Adventists we called there's actual time, and then there's Adventist time. So Adventists do not know how to do anything on time. I have never in my entire life been in an Adventist church where things happen on time, that things did not happen without chaos, where half the people didn't know what they were doing. I've never seen it. Right? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Man alive. So all of this stuff, planned for the future, delayed. If you do not do these things, you will find yourself losing jobs, you will find yourself in poverty and stuff like that. Therefore, it has nothing to do with white supremacy. It has nothing to do with racism. It is because you have an unethical worldview, and you are holding yourself back. It has nothing to do with white people. If you are a Latino or a Chinese or a black person or whatever the hell the case might be, right? An African, a Caribbean, whatever, I don't care. And if you do not do these things, then you will fail at life. End of story. So be this way. If this means being white, then go ahead and be white. Aesthetics based on European culture. Steak and potatoes, bland is best. Now they're just being asinine, right? Aesthetics are based on European culture. Oh, so the Europeans are not allowed to like what they like. Well, if you don't like it, do something else instead of complaining about it. Okay? Steak and potatoes, bland is best. Really? Have you met the Italians? Right? Bland is on what? This is so asinine. It's unbelievable. Bland is best. You've clearly never met Italians. You've clearly never met Greeks, right? I mean, this is true of the British. The British food. Oh my goodness, British food, man, is awful, right? It's just terrible. But come on. I mean, European Mediterranean cuisine. You've clearly never met Italians, Greeks, Portuguese, French. I mean, they literally run the world, basically, of culinary arts, right? I mean, they literally colonized India because they wanted their spices. So clearly, bland is not best. You morons. Women's beauty is based on blonde, thin Barbie. Again, this is trash. The Scandinavians look like that. They're not necessarily thin, right? So Barbie is actually not the European ideal of what a woman looks like. It is a gay man's ideal of what a woman looks like. right? Study after study after study has shown that men, including European men, prefer women with a fuller figure, right? And the whole fashion industry and makeup industry, the all of this so basically the whole fashion industry that preys on stupid women who buy into the lies that they're fed, that tells them that they're not good enough and all that kind of garbage, so that they can sell products to them. Basically, what they have subscribed to is the gay man's ideal of what a woman looks like, not an actual straight man's version of what a woman looks like. And unfortunately, women are too stupid to believe men when they say, listen, we do not actually like skinny women, we prefer women with a full figure. But try as you may, you cannot convince women of this fact, because because gay men and the fashion industry have managed to convince them so much that us men prefer thin women, that you can literally tell them nothing else, right? They've decided, because Vogue has told them so, because Metropolitan magazine has told them so. It's like, who runs those magazines that you women are buying? Gays and women are the ones that run them, not straight men. Okay, not straight men. But you know, I mean, women have their own whole victim culture, just like this crap, right? I mean, this is just like feminism for black people kind of thing. It's got all the same rhetoric, the same points and stuff like that. Feminists have also complained that being logical is the patriarchy, right? So the feminists complain that being logical is the patriarchy, and blacks complain that being logical is the whiteness. They should actually make a spoof horror movie called The Whiteness. The man's gonna get you. Holidays based on Christian religions. Yeah, not kind of, you know, not really. Based on white on white history and male leaders. Well, duh. Just like China is based on Chinese history and Chinese leaders, and you know, that's just what happens in a person's culture. You know, if you go to Africa, you know, Africans have their own things, you know, I mean, come on. They have their own religious ceremonies, their own holidays, their own whatevers and stuff like that. And if, like, South Africa does have a lot of Christian holidays, why? Because many Africans are Christian. Because, again, if you knew the first thing about history, you would know that Africa converted before Europe did. So the Europeans were still running around like a bunch of barbarians, eating each other and raping and pillaging in their little tribes, until Christianity came up from the Middle East and civilized the Europeans. Justice, based on English common law, yeah, because it happens to be the best. I mean, happens to be the best form of legal system on the planet at the moment. It's like, look at Africa, right? Look at China. They're not doing so well, are they? No. Protect property and entitlements, well, obviously, right? It's like, I'm pretty sure that a black person would not be very happy if you broke into their house and stole their stuff, right? So again, this is hypocrisy, right? I mean, what if protecting property and entitlements and all that kind of stuff was not important to black people, then why do they constantly bitch and moan about colonialism? Like, it's literally, bitching and moaning about colonialism is literally, hey, you took our stuff and our land, we want it back. So, hello. I mean, come on. I mean, they're constantly bitching about how the white man stole this and the white man stole that. Well, guess what? If property and entitlements is not an issue, then they didn't steal it, because you don't believe in property, in private property, because you don't believe in personal possessions. That means they didn't steal it because it didn't belong to you, according to your own ideology. So again, but you know, you can't be logical. You remember, you can't be logical because it is whiteness. You've got to be white, right, to be logical. Competition, be number one. Nothing wrong with being number one. Win at all costs. That is a problem, but that has nothing to do with being white. That is satanic, actually. And by the way, it is precisely what the Black Consciousness movement is attempting to do. It's exactly what the Black Consciousness, powered by Marxist ideology, is attempting to do, is to be number one and win at all costs, even if it means completely and utterly destroying Western civilization. So hypocrisy and imbecility of the highest order. Winner-loser dichotomy. Well, duh, obviously. If you don't win, it means you lost. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, I'm pretty sure these people with this black consciousness, Black Lives Matter, neo-Marxist mentality, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't mind having their ideology win and be number one, and for white people to lose. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Action orientation. Yeah, I mean, why shouldn't, why not just lie around there all day and do nothing? Action orient, I mean, if it's whiteness to be action oriented, then why are black people constantly, then what is Black Lives Matter? Constantly taking action on the streets. I mean, that's literally all they do, is constantly take political action all the time. What is anti-racism? Anti-racism is literally the insistence that everyone take anti-racist action every second of every day of their lives. That's literally what anti-racism is, right? Anti-racism is the new original sin, by the way. And unless you do anti-racism work, which if you're a white person, it means you should self-flagellate at least once a day for being so white and so privileged, then, and only then, maybe you can be forgiven. So yeah, that's a completely different gospel. Master and control nature. Literally what God told Adam to do in Genesis 1. Have dominion over the world and subdue it and look after it. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, it would be a pretty bad idea if you had lions and tigers running through the streets, don't you think? Right? So yeah, that's, I mean, black people also tried to master and control nature. It's why they built huts and weapons, and they started, if you go again into like South African history, they've been farming cattle for like ages. How the hell is that not mastering and controlling nature? It is unnatural for a cow to be herded by people the way most Africans did before white people came along. So they clearly didn't mind doing that. Come on. They used to, blacks used to mine. They built empires. Think about the Ethiopian Empire and stuff like that. They used to do the same thing. Whoever wrote this, it is a museum run by malignant retards, basically. It's unbelievable. Must always do something about a situation. Man. Literally, this is what black people constantly do all the time. We must do something about racism. We must do something about racism. We must do something about our criminals getting shot on the street by the police. We must do something. Every single Seventh-day Adventist imbecile that I have talked to and said to them, listen, you are imbibing, whether they're black or white, it doesn't matter. Every single one of them, especially the black people, the black ones that imbibe this retarded ideology. But so some, not all blacks, because again, they're not monolithic. Some blacks disagree with this imbecility. Look at me. I'm a Latino. I'm supposed to agree, but I don't agree with this mental retardation that is this ideology, this brain disease, right? The first thing they say to me, oh, but what do we do then? We must do something. This is exactly, again, I was telling you about the South England Conference for Seventh-day Adventists, their youth division, right? Literally, their post was all about, if you're wondering what to do, and you want to do something, then please read all of these watch all of these historically inaccurate documentaries, right? Please read all of these scholarly doctrines by these people who have fake degrees. Please donate your money to Black Lives Matter, which is going to disappear into a Democrat a black hole at the end of its destination, and is going to actually. And these people, some of them do not even pay their tithes. Do not even pay their tithes, and now they want to donate to Black Lives Matter. Do you see the hypocrisy? The sheer imbecility? Aggressiveness and extroversion, like no one. Aggressive when appropriate, extrovert when appropriate. But this, again, this is a personality trait. This is not whiteness. I mean, in fact, the only reason why black people get away writing crap like this is because whites are so cowardly, and there's so much white guilt going on. I mean, honestly, I mean, aggressiveness and I don't see this in white people. You want to know what I see as a foreigner, as a Latino, in white people? I see nothing but passivity. That's what I see, is passivity and pathetic submission to any idiot that so much as says boo to a goose. They couldn't say boo to a goose, right? Is abject passivity, is not aggressiveness and extroversion. Latinos, yeah, we are aggressive. We are very aggressive, right? In fact, we have a word for it. It's called machismo. There is no equivalent word in English for it. Okay? In South America, we have what's known as machismo, right? It's a whole concept about it's a degenerate concept of, to be quite frank, right? But Latinos, we have this ideology, machismo. You do not have machismo, an equivalent in English. You can try and articulate it, well, as far as I'm aware, but there's no equivalent in English, right? So, I mean, whites, it's like all they know how to do is be either a bunch of passive pussies, right? Liberal little soybean retards, or and that's about all they are these days. I mean, there's a reason why white women are suddenly finding us foreigners so attractive. Is because their white males are a bunch of quivering little soybeans, is what they are. I mean, come on, it's pathetic, right? Majority rules when whites have power. Yeah, okay. There's a reason why in the United States you have the what is that thing? First of all, right, this is imbecility, like majority rules, all right? America was not founded as a democracy, and democracy is basically majority rules. That's what democracy is, right? By the way, that democracy is usually what these idiots are asking for, even though it eventually devolves into outright Marxist tyranny sort of thing. But America was founded as a republic, not a democracy, right? Democracy is not ubiquitous to white European cultures, by the way. Okay, majority rules when whites have power. I mean, if this is a problem, then why is there democracy in majority black countries? Well, actually, there isn't. There's mostly tyranny. So yeah, okay, fair enough. So yeah, that's the modern. The museum is part of the Smithsonian. So there's the modern art piece of trash I saw. This modernistic, neo-Marxist, brutalist, disease upon the eyes sort of design that is so common to the modern era. It's just so, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what it is. So basically, the ideology is it's literally another form of white supremacy. Right? That only white people can be held to those standards. And therefore us poor people of color from South America and from Africa and wherever else, we cannot be held to these standards. And not only that, but it is against our culture. So poor us. How dare you demand we be on time when we make a commitment? How dare you ask us, how dare you ask us, people of color, to look after our own damn children and to look after the wives who we impregnate rather than buggering off and leaving them at the mercy of a corrupt state? How dare you demand this of us? How dare you demand us we take responsibility? I mean, this is what the Bible, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the Bible calls. Calling good evil and calling evil good. This ideology is from the pits of bloody hell. And if you are a Christian, and I don't care what race you are, because I see white people, especially white liberals. I had a white person once apologize to me. So I'm so sorry for slave. I said, you had nothing to do, you arrogant little narcissistic little imbecile. Right? I said, I do not accept your apology because you did nothing to me. You did not do anything to me. Right? At some point in history, my ancestors were slaves. At another point in history, your ancestors were slaves. The whole history of human race is a history of the fallenness of man and the sinfulness of man. But this narcissistic little white boy, right, wanted to apologize to me. I refused. I said, you have done nothing. And he was a fellow Seventh-day Adventist. And I said, thus saith the Lord, right? The children will not be held guilty for the sins of their fathers. And this arrogant little mother then wanted to have a go at me because I didn't buy into his ideology. So much, so much for empowering me as a poor little minority person to have my own opinion, right? Heaven forbid I have my own opinion. No, 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 no. White liberal, he had to educate me on the fact that I was oppressed by him. This is narcissism. This, lady, I need to do a video on narcissism so that you guys can understand how narcissistic, how absolutely narcissistic this is. This is literally, this is another form of white supremacy, ladies and gentlemen. This demented ideology is keeping not only my people down, but is keeping black people down. This is demented, right? And if you are a Christian, you have no business believing in the social justice BS. If you imbibe it and if you continue behaving this way, you're gonna go to hell. I'm telling you right now, because this is evil. You are calling evil good and good evil. To not honor your commitments, to not honor private property. In Israel, which is not a white country, it's a Middle Eastern country. In Israel, when God gave them the land, he said each tribe, each family is going to have their own land, and you had no right to trespass on that land. It's a biblical principle, which is why there is one of the 10 commandments that says what? Thou shalt not steal. This is a Marxist ideology, ladies and gentlemen, that is using minority people, especially blacks, because they are so easily aroused because of the political history in the United States. They are being used and manipulated into overthrowing the Christian ethic in the world, and idiot Christians who imbibe this trash are complicit in the Marxist, because the whole Marxist, the whole communist ideology is pure unadulterated. It is satanic ideology. That stuff comes from the pits of Hades, right? And its express purpose is to destroy the Christian West, and is doing a damn good job of it. I'm seeing now churches that are divided because people imbibe this crap, right? I'm seeing white flight and mixed flight. happening in churches. So a church that has a certain critical mass of black people in its membership, I'm noticing that not only whites are leaving, but even those who are involved in a mixed race relationship, so a black woman with a white guy, or a white guy with a black woman, or an Indian, or whatever the case might be, they are leaving these churches as well. Because how can you fellowship with people who think that you are racist purely by the color of your skin, and who think that it is their right to behave in the way described in this memo? How can you fellowship with such an individual? And then when the church is saying, oh, love and tolerance, what it means is not love and tolerance. What it means is passivity. What it means is it's literally another form of racism, another form of bigotry. It's literally, these people need to be held to a lower standard. Excuse me, you are not going to hold me to a lower standard, and I am not going to hold myself to a lower standard either. And if you do, you are a disgrace, because God calls you to something higher. He calls you to take responsibility for yourself, and to stop blaming everyone else, to count your blessings, to do righteousness, not believe in this political stuff that its sole purpose is to undermine. We know that Satan is the prince of this world, and these ideologies are coming in to destroy the church, and it's done a fantastic job. It's unbelievable. I'm sick to death of it. I'm sick to death of it. And I see this, and this is not limited. This is not limited to black people. This is coming in my people as well. Latinos. I'm seeing Latinos even believe in this garbage. You're seeing it in Brazil. You go to Brazil, and how many people believe in this trash? It's infecting Brazil as well. They're no longer Brazilian. They're Americans, with American demented from the gutter ideology, rather than say we're all one in Christ, and we're all going to get along, and we're all going to do righteous, and we're all going to hold each other to the same standard. No. Let's treat each other differently. Let's expect different moral principles from each other. Unbelievable. You're gonna expect less of me because I'm a person of color, right? Most of the people, in fairness, when they find out I'm Brazilian, even other Brazilians are like, you don't look Brazilian. But what does a Brazilian look like? That's racist. It's racist. I'm as mixed race as you get. I mean, I wish I had a picture of my grandmother, my great grandmother on hand. They're black. Great grandmother was a slave. Right? That's where I come from. But people mixed, because some people they don't like white coffee. They want dark. They want, I want me some of that, dark chocolate over there. So they go, and so we were mixed, and on one side of my family are dark as dark chocolate, and the rest of us are Cadbury's top deck or something like that, kind of thing. This is retarded. This is even splitting up families, because again, my family's mixed race. Some of us are dark, some of us are light, some of us have blue eyes, some of us have brown eyes, some of us are blonde, some of us have brown hair, some of us have curly hair, some of us have straight hair. You find all sorts in my family, and even in the family, it's like all we're doing is just when we thought that racism was over and done with, now this comes along. To divide people, to divide families, to divide churches. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. If you love the Lord, and if you love your fellow man, you will reject this. You will reject this for the evil, satanic trash that it is. And if you live your life according to these standards, right? Or should I say, if you do not live your life according to these standards that it brings up, personal responsibility and accountability, and you fail in life, then I've got no sympathy from you. You get no sympathy for me if you live a life of unrighteousness and wickedness and you fail and you end up in poverty. Then I'm sorry, I've got no sympathy for you. You suffer by your own hand. Right? You suffer by your own hand. My wife just became a British citizen, sort of thing, and we did it legally. Cost us, well, I think £4,000 all in. We worked hard. I do overtime at work, cuts on my hands, and I, do manual labor as an engineer and stuff like that. I work hard and I save my money, and we do well. I don't even own a car. I sold my car. I realized I didn't need a car. It was just my pride that said I have to have a car. And I went from being a total sociopath. Well, it's not something you get over. I'm still struggling. I went from being a complete sociopath that did whatever I want. I would steal, I would beat up, I would abuse, I would manipulate, I would lie and cheat. And I stopped doing that, and my life changed. And I realized I can't blame the world. Is the world unfair? Yeah, our world is unfair. But the world is unfair because of sin, not because of racism or because of this or that ism or... No. Not at all. And God, He promises, He says, if you do what is right, yeah, you'll still suffer, but for the most part, you'll do well. Because people will know how to trust you. I mean, have I experienced racism in my life? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I've experienced racism in my life. Bloody hell, I've been at the business end of a gun because of racism, more than once. And I still disagree with this stuff. I'm not going to indict all white people or all black people or all anyone because one or two of their people I had a bad experience. That's ridiculous. It's illogical. But if you're going to throw logic out the window, then anyway, ladies and gentlemen, man, just get away from this. This is retarded. And I mean that in the most technical term. This is not, I'm not trying to be insulting. This is a type of ideology that when it goes into your brain and into your head, it retards you. And I mean that in the technical use of the term. It retards you. It arrests you. It turns you into something else. But you're not rational, you're not human, you're not Christian if you imbibe this nonsense. That's ridiculous. Anyway, is it going to go away? No, it's not going to go away because the Bible says it's going to get worse. So, but if you can change yourself, then see how your life changes. I mean, so many of us people of color, right? I mean, people think that all of us people of color believe the same way. We don't. I mean, my Bible study group is people from Venezuela, people, African Americans, people from Brazil, people from Portugal, people from all over the place, right? In one Bible study group. And we're united because rather than believe political stuff, we're all, thus saith the Lord. And we get along beautifully. There's no issues, there's no racial whatever, there's no investigating your privilege, none of that. Because we have a higher authority, higher power, that is the Lord God and His law and what He says. Thus saith the Lord. I like the Apostle Paul says, I aim to know nothing but Christ and Him crucified. Finished. And I mean, let me tell you, Jesus knew about oppression living under the Romans. He knew all about oppression. The apostles knew all about oppression. The Jews knew all about oppression. You don't see this rhetoric in the Bible. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and unto God that which is God's. Let the politicians do their thing, and you serve God. And that's it. That's how you change the world. You don't change the world by going around, oh, you white person, you evil person. I mean, we literally the flip. Once upon a time, black people or whatever sort of thing. And now it's just the opposite. White people are the devil. It's like we're getting nothing right. We're getting nothing right. The most one of the worst things, if you study the progressive era, which is like 1900, maybe slightly earlier, to about 1950, right? Yeah, maybe earlier. Let's say let's say about 1950, 1960, to about 18. So 1860, 1870 to like the First World War. Let's say 1950s. Let's say, right? First, Second World War, a little bit after. You had the progressive movement, where the ideology, literally the ideology, was that the black person is not like white people. That was their ideology, and it was, by the way, it was based on evolution. It was backed by the full power of evolution, that the black man is less involved. This is what they believe. He's like an ape, and because he's like an ape, because he's like this, because he's like that, he cannot be held to the same standard as white people, and therefore we should treat him in a lesser way. And then there was concepts of eugenics. We're going to control the population of black people, and we're going to bring in eugenics, which is Planned Parenthood, abortion, all of these kinds of things. And we're going to get rid of the blacks. We're going to control their populations and stuff like that. And the ideology that I'm seeing today is exactly the same. What we just read on this museum for black history is identical. So basically, these black people believe the same thing that the white supremacists believed during the progressive era. They even welcome abortion, which was designed to keep their populations under control. It's like, yes, black people are being oppressed. Absolutely, they are being oppressed. But now, they are no longer being oppressed by a white supremacist outside, a racist outside. They've internalized what was believed in the progressive era, that they are not capable of keeping of the most basic things like logic and being on timing, being punctual, and hard work. They themselves believe that they should not be subject to those rules, whereas that's what the racists used to believe. This document that I just read for you basically agrees with people like the KKK. They're literally saying, yes, we believe what the KKK has always said about us. Therefore, white people need to hold us to a lower standard or a different standard, and you white people have your standard and we will have our own standard. It's segregation all over again. What the hell are you people doing? You Americans, you liberals. What are you guys doing? You Seventh-day Adventists. You Christians, you Baptists, you Methodists, you Catholics. What are you people doing? Bringing this social justice trash that's designed to destroy everything Christianity stands for. Man. It's like they say, the fear the enemy within rather than the enemy outside. Our problem is not the enemy out there, some white supremacist out there, the man out there somewhere. No, it's ourselves. What we've allowed to come in here, what we've allowed ourselves to be taught in here and in here. What we've allowed ourselves to believe that, we're not like the white people, they are this like aliens. Ridiculous. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I had to say that. I had to do this. I don't like getting political, but this was crazy. I mean, I couldn't believe that they really, and I've been saying, this is the weird thing, I've been saying that this is what was coming for ages now. I've been saying this, and even I was surprised. Even I was surprised reading this at how blatant they were. That they are literally being racist against themselves. You know, man, if you care about black people, if you believe that Black Lives Matter, then you will teach Christ and Him crucified, and you will teach nothing else. You will not teach this stuff, and you will reject Black Lives Matter. Because Black Lives Matter, they don't believe Black Lives Matter. They don't care about Black lives. They don't care. They're there to generate money for political ideologies, for Marxism. The founders of BLM have on video said full out, we are trained Marxists. I can show you the video if you want. We are trained Marxists is what they say. They don't care about you. They don't care about you. The only thing they care, there's only one color they care about, is green. Now they got you hating on white people. They got you hating on black people that disagree with you. They got you hating on everyone that disagrees with you. You've gone to war with the entire world for what? How does that improve your life? Hasn't improved your life. Hasn't improved your life. They want green. That's all they want. And it's no different, but you know, don't come tell me, oh, but the capitalists. Yeah, same thing with the capitalists. The only thing is people don't really disagree with it. At least in capitalism, people are honest. Yeah, I'm chasing the green for sure, but I'm going to respect your right to chase it as well, and we're not going to interfere with each other. We're going to freely contract, freely associate, etc., etc. And I mean, what we have today is not even capitalism anymore. The West has not been capitalistic since the Second World War. The West actually resembles socialism more than it resembles capitalism. We've got welfare, left, right, and center, public this, public that, public the next thing, public whatever else sort of thing. Government regulations, government oversight, government this, government that. The West has become socialistic, slowly but surely. Is becoming a feudal state. The West is becoming feudal, slowly but surely, and not even realizing it. We want to blame capitalism, all this evil. Oh, it's capital. It's not capitalism. We have a feudal state where the government coerces and controls everything. And these Black Lives Matter people, all they're doing is calling for more government control. That's all they are. Let's continue being dependent on the state. And when the state owns you, the state is going to start dictating to you what you should believe. We already see that. What you should believe, what you should not believe, morality, conscience, and then, boom, you're right back to the Middle Ages. Right back to the Middle Ages, where the church and the state will reunite, because what becomes the state ideology is just a state-sanctioned religion, is all it is. When the state starts dictating the conscience and starts dictating morality and starts dictating what you can and cannot say and how you should say it, you're done. You're done. And the beast of Revelation is growing. Is growing. That terrible beast, and then there will be a woman that rides that beast. That woman that rides the beast is a different church ideology. Church and state are going to reunite again soon. You see, you'll watch. False apostate church, global church. You'll watch. And all of these Christians that believe in this ideology are going to jump on board with the state globalist sanctioned religion, state sanctioned church. And the rest of us who are like, nah, I'm not going with that, we're going to have problems. So if you really, really consider yourself a Christian, you better get that right. Because A, you need to change your mind, otherwise you're going to become the inquisitor. And if you change your mind, it means you're going to get persecuted later on. But do you want heaven, or do you want temporary comfort on earth? Your choice, you decide. Anyway, that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for listening to me rant. I needed, but this had to be done. I think. I don't know. I might regret it. Who knows? Thank you. God bless. Cheerio.